So now we get to talk about the Lotus Sutra. So, so I know that Lotus Sutra is the most important thing as far as that I have heard of. But what is a Lotus Sutra anyway?
Well, that's a really good question because again, Lotus Sutra is a really, like if you look at in all of Asia, especially China, Korea, Japan, the Lotus Sutra is seen as this really interesting sutra that when I first read it, I was really impressed because it drove me crazy because like most Buddhist sutras, they would tell you how to practice and what to practice, etc. But the Lotus Sutra was this really magnificent story and also event that is chronicled in the Lotus Sutra in which the Buddha shows his essence. So therefore, essence, as you know, is a lot more difficult to grasp than just information or rules. So a lot of sutras would give rules, but the Lotus Sutra for me was especially fascinating because of the essence. And then again, that essence, which again says that there is the historical Buddha, but that actually we think about the Buddha passed away 2,500 years ago. But in chapter 16, it speaks on the eternal Buddha. And that eternal Buddha has always existed and is always existing in our lives and in ourselves, which shows that Buddhism has relevance at any time, at any place. And this is what Nichiren Shonin focused on. Now, of course, to understand, Nichiren Shonin was in many ways being orthodox. So he always attributes his teaching back to Grandmaster Tiantai in ancient China. And of course, as you know, in Japan, Saicho, who was the founder of Tendai in Japan. Nichiren Shonin was very impressed with those teachers. But the one thing that he realized was that in order to understand Buddhism, you have to live Buddhism. And that was living the essence of the Lotus Sutra. So the Lotus Sutra actually has so many wonderful teachings. The two basic teachings are, the two important chapters in Nichiren Buddhism are chapter 2, which teaches expedience. So when you look at all the other teachings of Buddhism, a lot of times people separate them. But what the Lotus Sutra says is that the Buddha looks how to best teach people according to the time, the place, the person's capacity, etc. And so all of them are expediential teachings. And that in reality, we as humans always distinguish there are 2 vehicles or 3 vehicles or 4 vehicles, that all these different schools of Buddhism, but the Buddha unites them into one vehicle. So the Lotus Sutra is seen as the one vehicle teaching, in which it brings all the teachings together. And then in chapter 16, which is the other significant part of this, the Lotus Sutra for Nichiren Buddhists, the Buddha teaches his eternal nature. He says that I have always been here, because the enlightenment of the Buddha is not just the person, it is an essence. And that essence is found within the essence of the Lotus Sutra. That is what Nichiren Shonin believed and understood. And that's what he upheld throughout his entire life.
In the essence, the Lotus Sutra is the most important thing, I believe.
Yes, that's why he upheld the Daimoku, Namu-myoho Renge Kyo. That is simply the title of the Lotus Sutra as the main mantra, the main teaching, in order to unite with the Buddha's teaching, to understand the essence, to bring it inside. So as you see and also the ultimate form of meditation. So a lot of people think that Nichiren Buddhists do not meditate. That's not correct. Actually, the Daimoku is a form of meditation. And there are many traditions within Nichiren Shu, all based on the Lotus Sutra. However, what Nichiren Shonin's main point was, like a lot of the Kamakura Buddhists that you see, he was trying to make it both livable for regular people and understandable in that all beings, because the Buddha says in chapter 16, the only purpose for the Buddha's existence is how he's always thinking, how can I cause people to attain enlightenment? That is the only consideration that the Buddha has, that upholds in order for people, his true wish, his true thesis is shown in the Lotus Sutra, that his only thought is that may all beings attain enlightenment, and thinking how to do it. So Nichiren Shonin formalized that in the essence of the Odaimoku, or great title.